How's everybody doing today? This is L.A.Kendrick with another story from the vault of Would You Dare. All right. We're going to discuss seven evil and dangerous Egyptian gods today. My books that I've written about in my superhero genre, my guys in the Destiny versus Chaos series are dealing with a lot of Egyptian gods that bring about different aspects all over the world. And it's a completely different spin on it. And a lot of these gods that I'm looking at now in this article that I'm about to read to you guys, has significantly impacted the way that I had viewed them. Again, you see a lot of Egyptian gods in movies and cartoons, even video games, right? A lot of African gods and monsters, they've got a vast mythology. Mythos, cryptids, things, all those things that we tackle in both of my books, The Benefits of a Bully for 10 and up. And again, I'm a published writer. I've written 7 books, novels, comic books, graphic novels, pretty much try to put my hand in all aspects of it. And what we've done here is, again, we're shining a light on things that aren't talked about as much, but it's just as amazing, just as fascinating as any other genre. And these cryptids are pretty important and pretty imposing. And so if you see the bag swinging, I just got them hitting the heavy bag. I still got some miles to do, go jog, do some hill work, but I just wanted to get out and do this and make sure that I provide you guys with an avenue to go in which you can actually breathe a little bit. If you're bored in your day, you can pick up one of these videos and say, hey, okay, I can share my thoughts, or I can imagine, and feel pretty good about doing so without feeling like you have nowhere to go. And you can blow off some steam here. So make sure that you comment when the things are done and like, all right? So we're going to cover, the first one we're going to cover is Set, and he's one of the main guys in my genre. So here we go. Let's jump right on into it. While it's comforting to think that the gods are on your side, that was definitely not always the case in ancient Egypt. Their vast pantheon contained hundreds of gods all across the scale of morality. To complicate things more, many important gods had dual natures, part benevolent and part vicious. Though only a few were all-out evil, the following 7 can be described as such in various myths surrounding them, from the evil Set, the terrifying devourer. Don't be surprised if this list makes it into your nightmares. And they're talking about Set, god of evil, chaos, and darkness. And again, he's a heavy hitter in my Destiny versus Chaos series. No matter which story is being told about Set, you can be sure that he's a villain of the piece, and for a good reason. He truly was a personification of the concept of evil for the ancient Egyptians. He was one of the 4 most powerful citizen gods, Osiris and Isis, his brother and sister, and half-wife Nephthys. In the beginning, Set ruled the night while Osiris ruled the day. Set's ambition got the better of him and corrupted his nature, leading to wars between the gods for a millennium. Set transformed his body into several animalistic creatures, often stated to be a crocodile or a serpent, to wage death against his brother. One of the most famous and interesting stories of the death of Osiris, for which Set was fully and openly responsible. He didn't just kill Osiris, he dismembered him and scattered his remains throughout Egypt. Osiris' son, Horus, discovered the crime and waged an epic war against his evil uncle. Though evil, he had his followers and cults just as did other major gods. The focus was not on the chaos, but on the promise of resurrection, an important part of Egyptian mythology, which was brought on by death and eventual resurrection of Osiris. Apep, serpent god of the underworld, this is number 2. He was the opposition to the sun god Ra and represented everything that he did not. He was malicious and dark and in the form of a poisonous snake. And it's spelled Apophis. There's another terminology that they use for him, Apophis. Apophis. As Ra's sworn enemy, he fought the sun god every night if Apophis was not defeated, the planet would be in terrible danger. He would make the solar boat that carried the world capsize and prevent the sun from ever rising again. He's a primeval God, existing before order and justice were created in the form of the goddess Ma'at. He could fight and work equally well on land and sea. He was also responsible for all storms and earthquakes, which were especially violent and destructive. Known as the Prince of Darkness, his other shapes include frogs, crocodiles, and even a woolly mammoth. He was closely associated with Set, sometimes even taken as an aspect of the evil god during his shape-shifting against Osiris. The ancient Egyptian god took Apophis very seriously, to the point where several books were written and distributed with various hints and tips how to beat and kill him. Alongside Set, he is often considered part of what later religions would conceptualize as a devil figure. Okay, number 3 is Amut, A-M-M-U-T, the devourer of the dead. Though not maliciously evil like the others who mentioned so far, Amut, it's either Amut or Amat, A-M-M-U-T, was a terrifying goddess that people generally would prefer to avoid. She had a crocodile's head, a lion's front paws, and a hippopotamus's back legs. She stayed in the hall of the two truths while the hearts of the dead were being weighed to determine the fate of their afterlife. The heart was weighed against the feather of the goddess Ma'at to test if it was heavy with evil. If a heart outweighed the feather and was full of darkness, it would be given over to Amut, who would devour it all. For the ancient Egyptians, this was the ultimate horrible fate. A heart that had been eaten by the goddess would never be capable of reincarnation when the next world began. Instead, it would be restless forever, dying over and over again. Ooh. Unlike Set, nobody worshipped Amut. She was considered the embodiment of their greatest fears, and they avoided her all they could. Spending time worshiping her would have waste anyway. It didn't really matter if you praised her, only the truth of your heart was important. All right, we have number 4, Sheshmu, S-H-E-S-M-U, God of the winepress. At first glance, this title included Sheshmu, on a list of evil gods seemed a little strange. However, like many gods, he had a dual personality, and one of these sides was undoubtedly wicked. This side of him is tricky, sneaky, and malicious, and is often linked with Apophis. Red wine and blood were inextricably linked for the ancient Egyptians due to their color, though the god aspect of Sheshmu, again it's spelled S-H-E-S-M-U, was friendly to the dead. The evil aspect would throw the heads of those that he didn't like into his winepress to extract the blood. Man. He was notoriously violent, often directly brawling with demons and gods alike. Some of his other titles included Slaughterer of the God, Dismemberer of Bodies, and Lord of Blood. Sheshmu, let's just say Sheshmu, did have many worshippers. However, and as time went on, the darker side of his personality retreated. By the time of the Greco-Roman period, his evil side had almost entirely vanished, replaced with his aspect as a god of celebration and perfume. He was said to be the greatest maker of scented oils for the god, especially Ra. All right, the next one is number 5, Sobek, S-O-B-E-K, the crocodile god. Another god with a dual personality. Sobek is even more complex than Sheshmu. This is partly because of how the ancient Egyptians viewed crocodiles in general. They do seem to worship a lot of crocodiles. While some worshiped and revered them, others hunted and killed them. Calling Sobek evil is a stretch in any incarnation, as he was generally considered to at least attempt benevolence. However, he was one of the most animalistic gods and therefore incredibly dangerous and violent. He had constant cravings for meat, and sometimes he lost control and devoured animals and people alike. and even gods. Did not know that. He lost control when parts of Osiris's body ended up in the Nile, eating it immediately, for which he had his tongue cut out. And later on, he became less animalistic. He shared more physical attributes with man, usually a crocodile head on a man's body. He became a very important representative of the gods and was eventually associated with the sun god Ra. Though still fierce, he very much became a force for good and a protector of the Egyptian people. Okay, the next one is number 6 is Sekhmet, the powerful one, the lion-headed goddess. It's spelled Sekhmet. Again, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering some of these words. Sekhmet was not always destructive, but the aspect of her fury was strong enough to even intimidate Apophis and Set. She served as Ra's most destructive weapon, and the dangerous wind of the desert was said to be her breath. Ra even once sent her to destroy humanity, though the gods put a stop to it before it could be fulfilled. Sekhmet was also said to bring plague and pestilence, and outbreaks were considered a message or warning from the goddess. Sickness that traveled through Egypt was often a punishment on behalf of the gods, or indeed the gods of others. She protected pharaohs, but usually in a warlike capacity. She was responsible for leading the royals to battle, as well as a weapon of Ra. She was also his daughter, which meant she was connected with both benevolence of the sun and its dangers. However, Sekhmet was also later associated with Beset, Hathor, and Mut, favorite benevolent goddess of the Egyptians. So strongly was she associated with the mother god, Mut. I don't think it's Mut. It's spelled M-U-T. So let's just say Mut. The statues of Mut, Sekhmet, exist all over Egypt. Her ability to cause plagues also had a light side. It came to be believed that if she caused pestilence, she could cure it and prevent it as well. Many ancient Egyptians prayed to Sekhmet, to help cure or even ward off plagues before they could hit and cause any severe damage. All right, number 7, the final one. Duat was not a god, but a place, the home of the demons which existed between the Egyptian underworld and the world of the living. Every night, the sun god Ra must travel through Duat and battle demons for 12 hours so the next day can begin and dead souls can move on to the afterlife. The demons who lived there were considered a very real and present threat in the day-to-day lives of the ancient Egyptians. Spells, wards, and other such protections were passed around to look after people, as were conjurings for the less morally inclined. Demons haunted water, especially canals and the great river Nile. They also caused sickness and pestilence, sometimes working for Sekhmet directly. With Duat, the demons who existed as forms of chaos had one job: to torture the souls on the way to reincarnation, led by Ra. Only spells from the Book of the Dead could protect spirits and lead them into the next life. That's part of my Destiny versus Chaos, the Foes of God. The Destiny versus Chaos series that I've done is basically so much of this. It's just incredible. Final thoughts. The ancient Egyptians had a great deal to fear: plague, famine, floods. They probably didn't need to also have half an eye. They didn't need to also have half an eye on any evil god who might turn up and choose to engage in some chaos. But nevertheless, there are a number of gods and goddesses who could possibly be described as evil. And this is our limited attempt to name but a few. Hope you enjoyed this list. All right, so that will wrap that up, okay? So, let me see if I can shrink this here and show you guys my work and what I've done. for, you know, for my part, right? Let's see if I can pull this up. So, for the most part, this is one of the guys that we've done work with. That's my version of Set, and he is simply. This is just for like the comic book or graphic novel aspect of what we've done or what we're doing. But he's a major hitter, and he has this disdain for Shabazz in the storyline. But that's my guy. That's my version of Set. And again, the Destiny versus Chaos series is for the adults. It's for adults because it's very, very graphic and very, very violent. So it's not for kids. But yeah, there you have it. A lot of work goes into what we do here. And again, I appreciate you as the fans for supporting the work. So make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. We do this raw and unedited so you can get more of a human feeling or a real natural feeling to everything that we're doing here, which I think is good. We can do live, but you guys let me know when you want to do that. Leave a comment and tell me and let me know when you guys want to actually go live, or I'll go live and see who pops in and who pops out. Okay, but yeah, let me go finish up my workout. Let me go get a couple of miles in, some hill work in, and again, you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe. Okay, hit that notification button. We are at 55 people. Let's try to take it up even further. Again, this is just a small channel trying to give my fans an avenue to come and talk and Q&A and just relax and enjoy themselves. And would you dare want to run into any of these gods that are evil on this list of 7? Okay, and with that in closing, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. You know how we do. Make sure you check your homes, your closets, the dark recesses of your home. And if you work late at night or early into the mornings when there's limited light outside, make sure that you guys check inside of your cars and under your cars, because evil comes in all forms and you never know what's lurking in the dark to make you a story. And this has been L.A.Kendrick giving a big shout out, RIP to Michael Hobson and Kenneth Shipp. You guys rest in power, and may the universe receive you fellows well. All right? And until next time, you guys fill in the rest.